Now, the Federal High Court in Abuja has dismissed a suit filed by two Ishekiri stakeholders seeking to stop the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, from delineating electoral wards and polling units in the Warri federal constituency of Delta State. Delivering judgment on Tuesday, Justice James Omotosho ruled that the suit was a gross abuse of the court process and lacked merit. The court accordingly dismissed the case in its entirety and awarded a total cost of 4 million naira against the plaintiffs, with 10% interest yearly until full payment is made. The move was widely interpreted as an attempt to stall long-anticipated electoral reforms aimed at correcting alleged political marginalization and underrepresentation of certain ethnic groups within the Warri federal constituency. Well, joining us on the show to discuss the long-standing issue of the electoral boundary delineation in Warri and the latest court judgment is Bright Omaghomi, Public Affairs Analyst. Mr. Omaghomi, good morning and welcome to the show today.
Yes, good morning. Thank you for having me. Good morning, Dr. Ruben.
When I saw that you were going to be our guest, I was wondering what the matter is again. Because before now, Justice Emeka Nwite had upheld dismissing a similar suit, challenging more or less the Supreme Court judgment, which gave powers to INEC to do delineation in Warri South, Warri Southwest, and Warri Federal Constituency. Then, again, Honorable Appearance and Appearance Afejuku, I think that's his name, and the Secretary of the Warri South local government. They went again to another Federal High Court, and they were more or less asking Justice James Omotosho to overrule the Supreme Court of Nigeria. And Justice Omotosho said, look, this your matter that you brought here, doesn't make sense at all. And he even awarded a penalty against them with interest. That's to show the seriousness of how frivolous he considers the suit. And then you and Mrs. Sayemene, I think two days before, it was reported, yes, you are even wearing the T-shirt, Reclamation Trust, yes, that you led protests to INEC office. So when I saw your name, I said, isn't this thing clear enough? Do you want to overrule the Supreme Court? Do you want to overrule the two Federal High Courts that have also intervened on this matter?
Thank you, Doctor. Very good question, I would say. But there are various perspectives to this particular issue. And that is what I want us to consider, and that is why I am here. There are the legal aspect, and there are various cases in court. The one you just mentioned is one of them, and that should not dampen the morals of Ishekiri people or whoever is seeking for justice on this matter. Reason being that the perspective from where I'm coming from is not just from the legal point of view. I'm coming from the point of view of facts from the report that INEC has given to us. INEC submitted a report to stakeholders 4th April this year, 2025, of the proposed ward delineation it has carried out, which means that INEC has obeyed the Supreme Court judgment and INEC has delineated. Now, we are not challenging the position of the Supreme Court judgment asking INEC to delineate. What we are challenging is the report that INEC has produced from this delineation. This report is what we are saying is fraudulent. And that was why we were at Abuja protesting. We were able to employ the services of experts, surveyors, registered ones, to look at this coordinate as provided by INEC in this ward delineation exercise. And that was how we found out the level of fraud we got from this particular report. In fact, if you have the time to go through this coordinate, you find out that the nature of this fraud is monumental in nature. It's very massive. We're not talking about errors that can be categorized as oversight, one or two errors here and there. No, we're talking over 80% of this job done by INEC has been fraudulent. And of course, from this report that we have gotten, Ishekiri will go to court from this perspective, not challenging the position of the Supreme Court, asking INEC to delineate. We are going to ask INEC to come and explain to us how they went about this delineation, where they started renaming communities. INEC was not given mandate by the Supreme Court to go create fictitious communities or to rename existing communities. INEC was not given power to adjust the boundary of Warri Federal Constituency to now include Udu local government, to now include Ughelli South, to now include Burutu, to now include Bomadi, or to include Edo State from Warri North, or to include Ondo State from Warri North. These were not the mandate given or handed down by the Supreme Court. So INEC has gone out of bound. INEC is now doing the job of boundary adjustment. INEC even went ahead to create communities where they are known. I'll give you a simple example of where we all know in Warri, Miller Waterside. Today, INEC gave it Boloma. Even if you are going to delineate to say, okay, you want to create more units, more ward, it doesn't change the name of the community that is already in existence. So this is the perspective from which we are coming from, not challenging the Supreme Court judgment who asked INEC to delineate.
So, this matter is so complex because there's so many different groups who are all, alleging different things. My question to you is, what will you say from your own perspective? What is INEC's motive and who is pushing INEC to achieve whatever that motive, that agenda is? Who is behind
we
all
all know
because INEC can't just wake up and say...
Yes. First of all, we start from the point of view of the interested party that was, nominated to head the team who carried out this delineation in Warri Federal Constituency. Professor Rhoda Gumus is the one who headed that team. And Professor Rhoda Gumus is an interested party from Bayelsa State, an Ijaw woman, who is also member of the Ijaw Leaders of Thought, who has been signing many of their letters. So it is this woman that was the instrument utilized by the Ijaws of Baramatu and some Urhobos in Warri to carry out this fraud.
Can you prove that? Yes,
we can prove that. I just told you that the experts' report done by registered surveyor, they are the ones who were able to look at this coordinate, because the coordinate we are talking about right here, these are coordinates provided by INEC, showing the locations of this community as they have mapped out by themselves. And now we just want to say, okay, let's really verify these communities as stated in this document by INEC. Now, you use this coordinate to check the location of these communities. Many of these coordinates were even falling on top of river, in deep forest where there are no habitat. Hopefully fishes too will come and vote during election in those polling units, or animals from the forest. Now, even when you talk about the numbers of persons or population of a particular unit being created by INEC, INEC cannot manufacture that. The last census that was conducted in the year 2006. Till date, we have not done any other census. And if you take that data as a source to determine the population growth of that area, you can't have the disparity that we currently have, where you now assume overnight that the Ijaws are more than Ishekiri, Urhobos are more than Ishekiri in their own federal constituency. If you call Ishekiri minority in Nigeria, Ishekiri are not minority in their own federal constituency. And fact remains that INEC cannot conduct any of this job in isolation of the institution of government that can source data for INEC. First of all, we have the National Boundary Commission. We have the Nigerian Population Commission. Then you now come to the voter register. That is where you have the population of voters being computed. As people are registering, we are having an increased number. And you can tell that this particular area has increased. So therefore, you want to split. Where you now have a situation where, for example, in many of the Ishekiri wards, where you have growth in population, nothing happened, they remain one. For example, in the case of Warri South, Ubeji was not reflected in this particular delineation exercise. So what happened to Ubeji? Now, Omadino, for example, was just captured for one unit. Imagine Omadino Bodo, all together, and Ubeji that wasn't mentioned is under one word. Meanwhile, you went about creating Upokiti, Otegele, that is far closer to Omadino. You brought it inside Warri main town and added to Okererobo and added to Ogunu. For people who know Warri, they can understand what I'm saying.
Okay. I have a fair idea. But Dr. Abachi raised a very important point. You say you're not challenging the delineation that it's already been done. It's the report that you're challenging.
Yes.
But the case that was dismissed, and you have to pay an insurance of 4 million now in court, was the delineation that they went to challenge, isn't it?
Yes.
All right. So that means
the Supreme Court judgment on the delineation.
Yeah. So, but it's Supreme Court judgment. That case is already gone. So why were you going to challenge? So what case do you have now to challenge this report? Is there any suit filed already? And why is there a need for protest? Because I also know that the what's it called, the head of security architecture in Nigeria has also stepped into this matter. So any need for protest and rancor?
Yes.
And are you filing a new court case?
Yes.
And is television the best place to come and do this, or go through the legal process of suing
we are
INEC
already
as that involved? Because you see, when it comes to this Warri crisis, every part has laid claim to the ownership of this area. The Urhobos lay claim. I've seen documents by the Ijos also laying claim to most of these areas. I've seen documents by the Urhobos. I've seen documents by the Shekiris.
Anyone can lay claim to anywhere in Nigeria.
And all of them have court judgments to lay claim.
No, I disagree.
I can check. I'll bring out the facts.
I disagree. In the case of Warri South, for example, in the case of Warri South, the only people who have got a judgment of ownership is the Okere Urhobo. In fact, they won that case under Idimu Sobo.
Yeah.
Yes, and it's a possessory right. That is, Agbasa have lost all their cases against the Shekiri.
What do you mean the possessory right?
The possessory right lacks title. You own it, you possess a place, and you have been using it for
just
farming.
A particular area.
Yes, there's just a particular area in Warri. And that is a land they share between themselves and Okere people.
But they also
don't forget that these
Idimu
Sobo people, they are part of Okere family. They are intermarried there.
They also use that to argue that says that Shekiris does not own the land in Delta, in Warri.
That's not enough argument. We're talking about, for example, over 1,520 square miles of land making up Warri City. And somebody won 281 acres of land. And you said that is enough to quantify ownership of the entire Warri. Does it make sense?
So they don't own the entire
They don't own Warri. So people can lay claim, but once you don't have the facts, as far as judgment is concerned, they don't have the fact to prove that. These are just argument, my words over your word. Now let's go to the case of why am I here? Yeah, the fact remains that we will be going to court. We will be going to court. That's what I'm telling you. With this fact before us, we're already in the process of going to court. We want INEC to come and explain to us what happened with this delineation and the report we are getting. Now, many of our communities, over 300 of them, have been renamed with Ijaw name. Once you plot the coordinate, the actual name comes out as against what INEC gave to us. If time, was available for me to do a practical session, I would bring that to bear, and I'm just hoping that that opportunity will be available, and INEC can come and answer questions to some of these challenges.
Less than a second. Just clarification, because I know there will be no end to this.
Yes, sir.
The surveyors that you were referring to, where did they come from? Are they Shekiri surveyors, or Ijaw surveyors, or Urhobo surveyors? Because if Urhobo surveyors do the same job, they will reach a different set of conclusions.
A job that has been done that is verifiable. If, for example, if a registered surveyor carry out a job, whether you are Urhobo or you are Ijaw.
Simple question: are they Shekiri or Urhobo or Ijaw?
What I'm saying
because
is
you were mentioning one Professor Rhoda.
Yes,
you said she's Ijaw.
Yes,
that's why she.
We can make use of Yoruba. We can make use of Hausa.
So, I mean, whose surveyor did your own survey? What company?
That is for my personal consumption.
No, you should be transparent.
No, that's for my personal consumption. Once the report is in the public and we are in court, you will see the name of the surveyor. You will see whether it's from Urhobo, whether it's from Ishekiri there, and the fact will be there before everyone to see.
The papers you brought.
Yes.
You couldn't bring the surveyor's report.
No, the surveyor's name is not necessary now. Once we go to court, the court will have those evidence. In fact, if the surveyor provide a report for us to go to court, it will be a public document and everybody can access it.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. I wish you all the luck in your court process.